Welcome to Psalm 46, a psalm that is familiar to me because I went to a Lutheran grade school, high school, and this is someplace in the line of all those years from kindergarten to 12th grade. I learned this psalm, memorized this psalm. Maybe everybody had to memorize one psalm, and I chose this one. I'm not exactly sure why, but it has a special place to me, even though I hate memorizing, which I haven't done since grade school probably, or maybe college, cramming for courses. It's a nightmare thinking about it because I really don't like memorization. I like going through and something repetitively and learning by repetition, which is sort of what I do here, or I have done with the Apostolic Bible. It begins, the Lord is a helper in our afflictions, which many of us have. They have a close friend who watches these videos, is being afflicted right now in health problem, and so others here that may be going through some sort of affliction. It begins to the telos, the director. For or over the sons of Korah, which we have had the last four Psalms, mention him being the man who the earth opened up and swallowed. And it's a psalm concerning the kriphion, the secret things. I'm not sure what that is. I tried to figure it out. It's only at 4 places I think this word appears in the Bible. And it didn't give me any light on exactly what it was. Maybe somebody out there has a better idea about it. And it begins in verse 1. Our God is a refuge and power. Katafigi. And dynamis, dynamite comes from that, is a refuge. That means when you are having problems, if you have someplace to go. Now, if you didn't have a refuge and you had problems and you had to deal with them yourself, it makes things a lot more difficult because you don't have any respite. It's very intense. But having a refuge, someplace to go and think about it, pray about it, read the Bible, be with the Lord, go up in the mountain and pray like Jesus did in so many places, is a wonderful thing. And God is a refuge, and He is a power. Now, when you go to that refuge, then you receive the power, sort of like the church retreats that I went to. It was like a refuge from all the problems that were going on, and you get together with a group of men praying and listening to speakers and so forth, and you feel like, wow, I'm ready to fight the world. And you go down in power. You've been recharged. And this is what it's all about. Our God is a refuge and power. But instead of going to a place with men, but you go to God, and He charges your battery, more or less. He's a helper in afflictions, having found us exceedingly. Now, I think it's exceedingly, He's a helper, not exceedingly the afflictions have found us, but it could be, I suppose. I'm not sure on that. But helper in afflictions. Now, it doesn't say that we're not going to have afflictions. We are going to have afflictions. That's part of the human life, the human existence, is having different afflictions. Every day we have a different affliction, something that's coming against us or we need to overcome. And He is a helper when we do have these afflictions. So after we have the refuge and then the power, then all of a sudden the problems come into our lives, either external or internal, health or the devil or so forth. But He is a helper when we are found in that position. Then it says, on account of this, we shall not fear, and I change this, by the disturbing the earth. And mountains are transposed in the hearts of the seas. Now, I look at this as more or less when natural disasters we shall not fear on account of this when the earth is disturbed, disturbing the earth. Well, right now, this is the 28th of August, 2021 in the United States. The city of New Orleans is faced with a Category 4 hurricane tomorrow morning, Sunday. And that is disturbing. And it could be the last time it happened, I think it was like 15 years ago, 16 years ago to the date. We had Hurricane Katrina, and this one's Ira. And it disturbs everything. But then here, and mountains are transposed in the hearts of seas. Now, when are mountains transposed in the hearts of seas? Uplifting volcanic action, supposedly, I guess. And islands are formed, volcanoes in the oceans, things that are natural, and we should not fear. Well, we shouldn't, but we do, don't we? It's hard to go through these difficult times, but again, God is with us in the afflictions. Their waters sounded and were disturbed. The mountains were disturbed by his force. Again, natural disasters, the waters sounded, roaring like the ocean where I'm at, and were disturbed. I had a friend that lived in Canada, never been to the ocean, and when he went to the ocean by my house, he couldn't believe how loud it was. And sometimes it sounds like thunder. I have my windows open at night, and it rolls down, boom, when the waves crash and go down the beach. Sounds like thunder. And the mountains were disturbed by his force. And volcanoes, I would suppose, when you get into mountains. The rapid movements of the river gladdens the city of God. The highest sanctified his tent. Well, where does the rapid movements of the river gladden the city of God? Well, you think, well, Jerusalem, but Jerusalem doesn't have anything like that would, a river, now they might have the Kidron, maybe it floods in it, but I don't think that's what it's referring to. I believe it's referring to the city that's on Mount Meron. And it mentions, in Ezekiel, it says, and it led me in a vision of God into the land of Israel, and put me upon an exceedingly high mountain. And upon it was as the construction of a city before me. That's Ezekiel 40.2. So this, the city of God, doesn't say Jerusalem, but Mount Meron, this is going to have a city. And then in Ezekiel 47, it talks more about now where the waters come forth. And he brought me unto the thresholds of the house, and behold, water went forth from beneath the open space of the house according to the east. For the front of the house looked according to the east. And the water went down from the south of the house, of the house of the right unto the south of the altar. And he led me according to the way of the gate towards the north, and led me by the way outside to the gate of the courtyard, looking according to the east. So he makes a turn around, comes down to the gate in the east. And behold, the waters carried down from the right side of the temple, or I would suppose, or the altar. And there was a man exiting right opposite, and a measure was in his hand, and he measured 1,000. Then he went through in the water of release. Thought I made a link. And he measured 1,000 and went through the water unto the knees. And he measured 1,000 and went through the water unto his loin, his waist. And he measured 1,000, he was not able to go through any more, for the water overflowed as the impetus of a rushing stream. It's just like the psalm, of which shall not be passed over. And he said to me, do you see, O son of man? And he led me and returned me unto the edge of the river. In my returning, and behold, upon the edge of the river were many trees exceedingly on that side and this side. And he said to me, This water going forth into Galilee towards the east. Now see, it can't be Jerusalem because it says it goes into Galilee towards the east. Jerusalem is already east, but it's way, way further south. So it couldn't be. But the water goes, then it goes down to Arabia, probably the Jordan, and comes as far as unto the sea, which doesn't say which one, the Dead Sea, probably unto the water of the outlet, and it shall heal the waters which the Dead Sea were full of the salt. So this is apparently what it's talking about. And it will be every life of the living creatures swarming upon all, upon whichever the river should come, there shall live, and there will be there many, exceedingly many fishes. And it goes on about that, but it goes to the east, to Galilee is the key to Mount Meron, which is slightly to the northwest of the Lake of Galilee. And I believe that's where the Lord was transfigured, changed, when Peter, James, and John went up with him on the mountain. So we have now the city, and then it says in the end of the last verse in Ezekiel, in the name of the city from whichever day it takes place shall be its name. Now, what that means, I don't know. It means a date. It would name it after the date. I don't know. That's in Ezekiel 48 of 45. So this rapid movement gladdens the city of God. And the highest sanctified his tent. God is in the midst of her, and she shall not be shaken. God shall help her. And her being, I'm trying to think of the city of God, I would think, because that's feminine, teen Pauline, where the skinoma is not the feminine, I don't believe. I think it's a neuter. And towards morning by morning, nations were disturbed. Kingdoms leaned. The highest gave out his voice, and the earth shook. Wow. Nations were disturbed. God disturbs nations, and this happens throughout history. We see nations being disturbed constantly. There's something going on somewhere in the world where some nation or nations are being disturbed in some type of upheaval, either natural or war, which is man-made. The highest gave out his voice, and the earth shook. And the earth shaking. We have earthquakes that happen all the time on the earth. And we just had a real large one a couple of weeks ago in Haiti, 7.1, a lot of destruction. Now, does God do these things on purpose? I don't know. He might get people to change and so forth. Some people would have a hard time with that, thinking that God has anything to do with nature. But here it says it. He does. The Lord of the forces is with us, and that means the military, the Lord of the military. Now, I don't think he's talking about the military on earth, but the heavenly force of the angels of God. They're with us. The Lord of the forces, the Lord of the forces is with us, God. The God of Jacob is our shielder, and the God of Jacob, Israel, is his name that he was changed to. Israel is he's a shielder. Now, the Jews, they denied Christ, and the ones today still do. And so they crucified Christ, they crucified the Son of God. The blood be upon us and our children. So now, does this take place that the Lord God is our shielder? If you're going to kill the person that's going to shield you, can he shield you anymore? No. And so I believe things changed for the Jews. And I look at this verse 7, and it makes me think of the Holocaust, where all the Jews putting their faith and their belief in the God of Jacob, but yet they were led as sheep to the slaughter, to the Holocaust, the millions of them sent to the camps and died and were buried. And they could very well easily cry out, what happened? Why? Why did this happen to us? And so, well, would you say then, well, that it was a retribution for what they did? No, I wouldn't go as far as saying that, because there's a lot of Christians that have had the same thing happen to them. And there may be certain Christians in certain places and cities that were taken over by the Muslims. So would they say that, well, then God is not with us? I suppose you can think that way, but you have to be very careful in thinking that way, because God is our shielder, yes, but that doesn't mean the things are going to come against us, and doesn't mean that they might overpower us. A shielder can only do so much, shields us from the darts. Doesn't say that everybody that believes in Jesus is going to have everything happen perfect because you now believe in Jesus. Well, I think that things will happen in an individual's life which will be way, 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 way better than a non-believer, that God will do things miraculously and shield and comfort and all sorts of things, even though they're going through the tough time. And then it changes in verse 8, it says, come and see the works of God. Yes, what miracles he made upon the earth. The Jews can look at the miracles of Moses and so forth, but us as Christians, we go to the New Testament, where in Acts 2:22, it says, men, Israelites, hear these words. And so this is to the same Jews. Jesus the Nazarene, a man from God, exhibited unto you powers and miracles and signs, which God did through him in your midst, as even you yourselves know. So now Paul is showing them that God is doing miracles, exactly what he said right here. Come and see the works of God, what miracles he made upon the earth. Well, Jesus did the miracles and they saw him, but did they pay attention? No, they didn't. They crucified him. In taking away wars in return unto the ends of the earth, he shall break the bow, and he shall break in pieces the weapon. And the shields he shall incinerate with fire, by fire, in fire. This is in, the preposition in. The instrument, it's pretty much determined by what the instrument is, and here it's fire. He's incinerating in fire, could be correct, or he's incinerating by fire would be correct, or he's incinerating with fire. So I just wanted to show you that the prepositions are on the iffy side, depending on the context. Relax and know that I am God. Relax is saying, relax, that know that I am God. If God is taking care of me, then a lot of times I can relax when other people would be jittery, like, oh, all kinds of things are going on. I find that happening to me now. I've had people calling me, oh, you see the thing that's going on in Afghanistan, how horrible it is. And I'm like, well, it is what it is. And God is in control. It's in his hands. He's designs nations and what the peoples are going to do and so forth. Relax. And then it says, I shall be raised up high in the nations. I shall be raised up high in the earth. Well, who's the I? The guy writing this? The man or the person writing this? Hey, I shouldn't use slang like that. The man writing this? No. Who is it? Well, I believe we see that here in the New Testament again. It says, Jesus says, and as Moses raised up high the serpent in the wilderness, so it is necessary the Son of Man to be raised up high. That's John 3:14. The same word, 53:12. And Jesus said to them, another place, whenever you should raise up high the Son of Man, then you shall know that I am. And from myself I do nothing. But as my Father taught me, these things I do. John 8:28. Then whenever you should raise up high the Son of Man, you should raise up high people. And if I be raised up high from the earth, I will draw all to myself. And that's John 12:32. So it's talking about Jesus here again, another place with Jesus, all throughout the Psalms, and I'm bringing them out by the Greek scriptures, which are much more in tune to the New Testament than the Hebrew. The Lord of the forces, the Dynamion, is with us. The God of Jacob is our shielder. Again, the God of Jacob is shielding us, and God has a power way beyond anything on this earth. There was, I think it was Elisha or Elijah, the prophet, and went to King Jehoshaphat, I believe, and the city was surrounded by the Assyrians, and then the prophet told him, the king, not to worry about it, and so he had God show the king all the armies of God, and once he saw it, it was much bigger than the Assyrian army, and the Assyrian army was wiped out. We don't see, as the king, when we have all these things, we don't see the power of God around us physically, as it took the prophet to have God show him and take physical form. And so, in going through the afflictions, ask God, show me the power that you have. And I believe that he will show you the power in one way or the other. I hope he does. Psalm 47, our next video seminar, the Lord is a great king over all the earth. Hope you join us in the next video. Until then, God bless.